Hello learners, I welcome you all to the session on performance appraisal, meaning, process and purposes. In the last class, we discussed about potential appraisal, its purposes, indicators and various techniques used for potential appraisal. I am Dr. Chandrakant Sahu, Institute of Management and Information Technology. So let us distinguish between performance management and performance appraisal. So basically, if you talk of performance appraisal, it's a process of evaluating the performance of individual employees against the performance standard. Okay, what is performance standard? Performance standard is the expectations or target to be accomplished by an employees. Okay, you can see this picture. You can see this picture. Okay, so if you see performance appraisal starts that there is one performance appraisal period. Okay, there is a beginning start of the year and there is also an end of the year. Okay, so in between what happens, work effort is given by the employees at the end of the year. So what happens, there is appraisal review. Okay, so ultimately that is linked with various purposes like salary, take for example promotional decisions and many other decisions also. It is also used for this. But if you talk of this performance management, so at the start of year a lot of exercises have been done. Okay, so normally it starts with face to face interview, or sorry, face to face planning, then setting the objectives, then set developmental plans and competence review. So these are the exercises normally done at the beginning of the year. Then effort is also made, work effort is also made by the employees. Then there is also interim review. Then once again work effort is also made by the employees. Then there is also final review. Okay, so all these happenings are closely monitored when we discuss about performance management. Okay, so when we have, what is the purpose of interim review? The purpose of interim review is to check the progress. Okay, so if so accordingly the work is also could be also replanned. Okay, so basically if you see this, that performance management system, it is it is the integrated performance that it is the integrated process of objective settings. Okay, so why it is called integrated process? Because as we have discussed that there are various kinds of integrations, like vertical integrations can take place, like linking or aligning business team and individual objectives. There can be also functional integration, like linking functional strategy in different parts of the business, like it can be also departmental integrations. Okay, there can be also HR integration, like linking different aspects of human resource management, especially organizational development and human resource development and reward, to achieve a coherent approach to the management and development of people. Okay, so there can be also integrations of individual needs with those of the organizational, as far as this is possible. Okay, so if you see basically it is, if you see, this performance appraisal is a part of performance management. Okay, so this performance management is an integrated process of objective setting. So this objectives is being set at individual level, it can be at also the team level. Then appraisals and pay determination. So when objective is set, standard is developed, target is fixed, then appraisal can be also made. And also this data often through performance appraisals, that process can be used for pay determination, which also supports the achievement of the company's business strategies. So it is very much like aligning, it is very much like aligning that individual achievements with company's achievement business strategy. Okay, so at an individual level it will result in action plans related to performance improvement. It is not just that appraising, it is all about performing. Therefore in case appraisal, in case performance falls short, There can be some of the HR interventions, like there can be also like the counseling, there can be also training and development program that can lead to performance improvement. It can also help in career development and training. Therefore, performance management involves thinking through various facets of performance, identifying critical dimensions of performance, planning, reviewing, and developing and enhancing performance and related competencies. It is an ongoing communications process that involves both the managers and the employees. So, performance appraisal, let us understand the basic concepts of performance appraisal. According to Edwin Flippo, the performance appraisal uh, is the systematic and periodic and impartial rating of an employee's excellence in matter pertaining to the present jobs and potential and his potential for a better jobs. So, performance appraisal is the systematic process. It's a systematic process means it involves a series of systematic steps. So, it is also a periodic process. Periodic process means it has a beginning and it has an end. Okay, and impartial rating of an employee's excellence. So, the objective or the it is expected that the employee's performance appraisal process should be very much impartial. Okay, it should be biasless. Impartial rating of an employee's excellence in matters pertaining to his present job. It is the performance appraisal of his present jobs and his potential for a better jobs. Okay, so this can be also seen. Okay, according to Dell Beach, so performance appraisal is the systematic evaluations of the individual with regards to his or her performance on the jobs and his potential for the job. So basically, what you do in case of performance evaluations or performance appraisal, what we do or what one HR or a team can do, they evaluate the performance of the employee. That means the performance that is already delivered. Okay, and also it has also the one developmental dimensions. Okay, so there are also various dimensions of performance which we must also understand. Okay, so first dimensions is output or result dimensions. Performance is what is expected to be delivered by an individual or a set of individuals within a time frame. Such performance expectation can be stated in terms of results or efforts, tasks and qualities within specified condition under which it is to be delivered. Performance management system have many dimensions such as output or result dimensions, input dimensions, time dimensions, focus dimensions, quality dimensions and cost dimensions. So, results and outputs are the visible and measurable dimensions of performance. These give the status and summary of the finished and semi-finished product or services or performances. Okay. They describe the results in terms of the measurable standard. For example, achieving 95% of the standard output in a shop floor engaged in production of plastic molded company. Okay. So, if you say, so it is when we talk of this concrete that a result or output dimension, it is very much measurable, it is very much concrete. Okay, the most acceptable and measurable dimensions of performance is result and output. It describes the conditions of input which included raw material, working conditions, process capabilities and talent of employees in the final form of product or services. So, it is necessary to plan all the performance activities in a scientific and systematic manner so that the desired result and output may be obtained. Okay. Then we can talk of input dimensions. These dimensions deals with the activities to be accomplished by the employees. Performance can be achieved if the nature of input can be managed without mistakes, because the performance is a function of three sets of factors: ability, motivations, and organizational support. If anyone among these three factors is less, the performance is to be poor. So we can have one equations like employee performance equal to employee competence plus employee motivations and employee support. So any of the dimensions, like any of the factors, these factors if fall short of requirement, then so there will be that will affect the performance. Okay, so there can be also time dimensions. Okay, so since we understand that performance appraisal is a periodic appraisal, therefore time is very much significant. Time is precious and very important dimensions of performance. In the current scenario of world, the performance management is time bound. Otherwise, the survival of the organization is not possible in the future. Performance of an employee in relation to a given role during particular period of time under the set of circumstances operating at the point of time. Therefore, time may become the target. Okay, so then we can talk of focus dimensions. So performance has also a focus dimension. For example, in case of a sales, profits and new areas, focus means attention. So attention, that quality of attention is also very much significant in performance deliveries. Okay, so focus means attention not only on own activities but should also keep close watch on related activities. Okay, so then we can talk about also quality dimensions. Okay, quality is not a destination, it's a journey. So quality refers to doing the things right from the first time rather than making and correcting mistakes in order to achieve total customer satisfaction. It means quality is conformance to customer requirements, not just goodness. Higher is the quality, greater is the satisfaction of customers. If or it is the responsibility of each and every employee as well as management to build a quality standard which provides reasonable customer satisfaction at economical cost. Quality is the core dimensions of performance management. So there is a concept, as you know, that total quality management. Total means wholeness, quality means excellent. It is managing wholeness to accomplish excellence, and excellence itself is a journey, it is not an end. So there can be also quality dimensions. Then there can be a cost dimension. Cost dimension means we can talk of in terms of cost effectiveness. The ultimate principles of purchasing is the low cost with best quality. Therefore, cost effectiveness is another dimension of performance management. It implies the capacity of a business unit to produce a given commodity at a lower cost through though through more effective utilization of existing resources. It is the process of cost reduction by improving efficiency of operations. Then we can discuss about the performance appraisal process, which itself involves a series of steps. Okay, so it begins with establishing the standard of performance. So what is performance standard? Okay, while the job description entails the essential functions and the tasks to be done, the performance standard defines how well each function or task must be performed in order to meet or exceed expectations. Therefore it provides a benchmark against which to evaluate or what to evaluate or who is to evaluate performance, work performance. Okay. Therefore, the company or HR should ensure that new employees receive a written explanation of the key standard of performance within the first month of employment. Okay. So, in terms of the dimensions that we have discussed, like timeliness, like take for example, like what is the beginning of the performance appraisal period and what is the end of what is the that means what is the performance appraisal period can be also communicated to the employees. Okay, then there can be also cost factors or cost dimensions, quality dimensions. Okay, the quality can be subjective and objective measure of satisfactions. Cost can be also budget, constant limits can be also communicated to the employees. Okay, so quantity, how many in terms of, suppose in case of sales, so the quantity of product have to be that sold as target. Okay, so that can also happen. So then there can be also customer satisfaction if that employee is also dealing with that. Okay, so these are the various dimensions. So when this that performance standard is developed, there are various dimensions of performance which have to also taken care of, which have to also incorporated while developing the standard. Then standard when these standards are that developed, these standards have to be communicated to the employees, because employees should know what are his expectation, what is the benchmark, what are the key performance indicators. Okay, so so these have to be performance that standard has to be communicated to the employees. Then once that is communicated, so towards the end of the performance appraisal period, and finally performance appraisal has to take place, means measure the actual performance. Okay, so at this period the actual performance is measured against the standard. So then it is then comparison of actual performance with the standard established. So here what happens, there can be some kind of variation may take place. Sometimes what happens, that variation may be perform, sometimes variation may not also happens, like employees performance may be just exact the benchmark or the standard. Sometimes it can be more than that performance, actual performance may exceed the performance standard. So that means it is expected, that's good performance behavior. That means that can be also linked to various purposes like pay hike, take for example promotional decision, when somebody is found to be an excellent performer or outstanding performer, so that performance has to be reinforced through promotions, pay hike decision, so that the employees will stay motivated in the companies. So sometimes what happens, that actual performance may fall short of the standard, so corrective actions have to be also taken, like in the form of, if training is the issues, training and development program can be initiated for this also. These are indeed the purposes of performance appraisal. Then after that, so communicate the rating to the employees. Okay, so whatever performance appraisal is, that employee has the rights to know what his performance is all about. Therefore his performance has to be communicated. Okay, so this has to be communicated and discuss the feedback with the employees. Then there can be also feedback, there can be also post appraisal interview, where face to face discussion with the that employee can take place. That employees can also express his views. If any of the performance dimension is missing from the performance appraisal, that can be also incorporated. So there in the post appraisal interview, the performance, how the particular employee can improve his performance, the feedback can be also rendered to him. Okay, so these are the basic steps. So begin with it establishing the performance standard, then communicating these standards to employees, then measure the performance standard. Here also there are certain approaches and methods of appraisal also, performance appraisal, which we will discuss in the next class normally. Okay, so normally measures, when that performance actual performance is measured or assessed, there are some of the methods being used here. So we will have a discussion in a separate sections. Okay, here then actual performance and standard is being compared. So out of the comparison we may find some of the gaps. Okay, or you will have a situation like the performance exceeded, performance is that higher than the standard or the benchmark. Okay, what are the how that performance appraisal data can be used. Okay, so here some of the like the person can be, or the employees can be motivated, he can be promoted, he can be given a pay hike, he can be given special perk and perquisites. Okay, so many that to reinforce the positive performance, these that some of the motivation can be rendered to the employees. In case of falling short of the performance, then corrective actions like training and development or mentoring or counseling, if that has to be seen, what are the hindrances, what are the problems in accomplishing the target, that has those have things have to be studied and corrective actions have to be taken. Okay, so then so the performance the rating has to be communicated to the employees, because employee has the all rights to know what his performance. Okay, because this is one of the objectives of performance appraisal, that the employee to let the employees know about his performance so that he can improve, or he can plan his career, or there can also career development initiatives accordingly. Okay, so then discuss the feedback with the employee, conduct post appraisal interview. In post appraisal interview there can be one to one communications or discussions with the employees. If some of the performance dimensions are missing from the appraisal, that can also taken into considerations. Okay, so these are the things appraisal process. Then we can move on. So what are the purposes? Now the performance appraisal data is ready. Okay, so when performance appraisal is over, so the data obtained through performance appraisal have to be used properly. So identify employees who are eligible for salary hike, like those who have really that accomplish the target. Okay, so those who have exceeded the benchmark, they can be given salary hike. So generate data to take personal decisions such as promotion, transfer and layoff or termination decision also, it can be also used. Okay, when people are really outstanding and there is vacancy at the upper level, so promotion may be given. Okay, so indeed there is a promotion policy in the organizations. It can be merit based or seniority based. Okay, seniority based means so senior person will get, but when we talk of performance based or merit based, on the basis of performance employees are promoted. Okay, so then it can be that performance appraisal will tell us also the persons that actual performance, therefore that also to some extent reveal his potentiality, therefore he can also be transferred to certain positions where it is found that he is suitable for. So sometimes when the performance falls short of performance standard, layoff decision or termination decision can be also taken. Okay. So then determining training and development needs of the employee. This is the developmental aspects of performance appraisal. Like if performance falls short, if there it is the performance falling short is due to the skill paucity of skills or skill issues, then training program can be also conducted. Okay, then performance appraisal, whatever that HR intervention or program is being conducted, like recruitment and selections, it is through performance appraisal that the process is validated. If performance is good, then all the programs designed by the HR is found to be good. When performance is not coming up to the expectations, the HR programs are being questioned. Therefore, such as the effectiveness of a training and development program can be also that that can be also measured through performance appraisal. Okay, so then to measure what standard laid down has been achieved by the employees, to measure whether standard laid down has been achieved by the employees or not, this is also one of the that purposes, because before the commencement of the or beginning of the performance appraisal period, standard is also fixed or developed, that is also communicated to the employees. So to the extent, to what extent this standard has been accomplished. Okay. So that variation also we have talked of, like if variation takes place, different kinds of that developmental mechanism or development, different HR interventions can be undertaken. Okay, like to improve the performance of the existing employees, or can be that if the performance is outstanding, the person can be promoted or given a pay hike. Okay, so then estimate the future requirement of the workforce. Okay, this is also one future estimate. It also helps in manpower planning. Estimate the future requirement of, so when that HR has a database like current performance. Okay, so it helps in manpower planning in estimating the future performance. Helps to recognize potential of promising employees. So potentiality and performance is also closely linked. So this is also one of the purposes. Then last but not the least, performance appraisal also helps in motivating employees by providing feedback about their level of performance. So this is the developmental aspects. So giving feedback, this is also very much important. Unless feedback is given, the person cannot be able to know or will not be able to know where does he stand. Okay, so these are the purposes or uses of performance appraisal. We'll thank you very much for this session today. So we'll have just, so in these sessions we have discussed about performance appraisal, meaning the purposes, meaning process and purposes we have discussed. I think we have that you have understood. In the next class we will discuss about the approaches and methods of performance appraisal. Thank you very much for today. Have a nice day.